most people think companies like ZooDelio are just about cash offers. I don't. I think that they're really about understanding what consumers want before the rest of the industry catches up.
There was a recent study done that surveyed sellers and buyers that have recently purchased a home. And what it uncovered is half of them used two agents in the transaction: the real estate agent they hired and the AI agent in their pocket.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution.
Hey, it's Real Estate Talk TGIF episode 416. You know, most people think companies like ZooDelio are just about cash offers. I don't. I think that they're really about understanding what consumers want before the rest of the industry catches up. And today, we're talking to one of the people closest to that shift. Kayla Lyles is the CEO and co-founder of ZooDelio, a platform changing how homeowners and agents navigate the selling process through AI-driven tools, cash offers, and equity insights. With more than 20 years in real estate, she's sold thousands of homes, worked with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and HUD contracts, and helped build a technology company now serving millions of homeowners. But what makes Kayla different is that she's not just a tech founder; she's really a behavioral economist, I can't talk either or read, disguised as a real estate CEO. She understands consumer psychology, why convenience is changing the way people sell homes, and why the next generation of successful agents will need to become true advisors, not just salespeople. Welcome, Kayla Lyles. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dave. And this is such a treat. I literally cannot believe it was nearly 7 years ago. And I cannot believe that you have been so consistent with this podcast. Kudos to you. I think you are in the very, very elite few of people that even, surpass 200 episodes. So, wow, incredible. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to have you. This actually is. I always have a fight with Byron Lazine that this is the longest running live broadcast in real estate in the country. He might have the longest running podcast, but it's not live. Anyway, here we are. Okay, so Kayla, you've had a journey and you had an idea, and you built that idea to where we are today. And I've had the pleasure of knowing you many years. I mean, we haven't talked in years, but we've had a kinship, and we had a mutual friend. It's just how we got together and met. Talk to me about your journey and how that journey has turned out to help so many people.
Whew, it is a journey, as they say. And the fact that we podcasted nearly 7 years ago when I was starting something new, it was a brand new technology company. And at the time, it was a different name. It was called Offervana, and that story is quite long, but in a nutshell, OfferPad ended up coming after me and suing me for using the word offer in my name, believe it or not. They came after me for a trademark infringement. They said that they owned the word offer. So ultimately, I gave that up, rebranded to ZooDelio, changed the goal of the technology to really serve and support real estate agents to help bring these different solutions, like the cash offers you get from an Open Door and an OfferPad, like the different other types of cash offers that are available, all in one place, and connect the real estate agent to those. So it has been a journey. We have fought tooth and nail to establish a foothold. The beautiful thing is we've created now a pretty massive presence. We have nearly 15,000 agents on the platform. We are serving nearly 1 million homeowners with our monthly AI-driven home report. And we're serving these cash offers up too. So we're keeping sellers in the know of what cash buyers are willing to pay for their homes. And it's just been incredible.
So, you know what? You've also been, and I believe still are, a broker owner of a regular real estate company.
Yes, I am.
And so I imagine this process, this program, this the software has helped your business as well, I imagine.
Absolutely. So yeah, and that's how you and I met, Dave, is we met because, we were both in the brokerage space. And I think at the time you owned a Century 21. Is that?
Did.
Is okay. So I'm like, is my recollection correct there? Because this is many, many years ago. And, and so we're both, really passionate about real estate. I think that's what kind of drew us together.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely. The software really fuels a lot of what we do with real estate. And I will say that, I don't want to take credit for running the real estate brokerage. We do have a team that does that. I have a managing broker. And so I'm super hands off in that regard. But yeah, we do.
So, all right. So let's talk about ZooDelio and its cash offers. And, in the beginning, there's no secret. I'm with eXp Realty, been with them about 6 years or so. And people come in and eXp has their own cash offer program. And people say, well, I'm going to get into that because I think that's a way for me to get business. Then you talk to people that are actually wholesalers and fix and flippers, and they talk about their cash offers. Typically, we're talking about low offers, and there's I think there's a disconnect where agents think about cash offers and these cash offer platforms. And we'll all recall, we talked about this the other day. Zillow went in with big cash offers a long time ago, and they didn't succeed because of that favorite word that every agent loves, estimate. So we're not going to get into that. I just wanted to mention that. So in doing research and thinking and reading, I try to do as much as I can about my upcoming guest. There's a way to use ZooDelio in your platform. So first, I'd like you to talk about your platform and why an agent would want to use it and why an agent would want to sign up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we could talk. I think what would be really beneficial for the listeners is how they can use the idea of ZooDelio, right? Like you don't need a ZooDelio. You can do this on your own. You don't need the platform. The platform just makes it easier because it sources the offers for you. So I'll add that. Also, too, Dave, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we are the technology that is now powering Express Offers Pro for EXP. And so we have an investor marketplace as well. And so all of EXP's investors are a part of that marketplace. And so anytime an Express Offers agent enters an address on ZooDelio, not only do they get all of the ZooDelio cash offers powered into their platform, they get all of the offers that are powered by the other investors too. So it's super cool, Dave. And here's how to think of it. You mentioned that the cash offer platform, agents think really lowball offers. And yeah, there can be investors that serve up very lowball offers. But and almost like, here's another thing too. It's almost kind of like sleazy in a way. Like it's almost like gross, like, ew, cash offers. No, like, oh, my clients, I don't want to bring those to my clients. Right. And I get that because those were the thoughts that I had when I first started this journey. I thought that, oh my goodness, why on earth would a seller accept an offer that's less than market value, when I can sell their home for the most amount of money on the open market? And so I wrestled with all of that. Now, here is the distinction and the beauty of some of the cash offers in ZooDelio. We have full market value cash offers. Now, they're structured a little bit different.
Right.
They are unique and they're structured in a 2 payout system. And the benefit to the homeowner is they get full market value for their home. Truly, whatever it sells for on the open market, they get, and they get the benefit of the cash offer, and they only pay a fee. They pay a program fee. And so when you really have a situation where a seller needs an easy exit, or maybe they're really concerned about timing their next move, or let's be real, maybe they're a hoarder, or maybe they have a lot of deferred maintenance and they're equity rich and cash poor, and they can't actually make those updates that are going to fetch the most amount of money on the open market. And so there are these scenarios where an offer like this makes so much sense. And the neat thing for real estate agents is you are never cut out of the deal. Not only do you represent the seller when that buyer purchases the home for them, but then you represent that buyer who then becomes the seller when they sell it on the open market. And so you actually make 2 commissions, not just one. And it's a really cool thing to share with your sellers. Now, here's what I mentioned though, when we kind of first started this little bit. I said, I want to share with agents how they can really leverage this tool. Yeah. And what I hear from our members and what we teach at ZooDelio is it's not about the cash offer. It's about having options. It's about showing up to the listing appointment and having a different way to do things. Yeah. And so I was just talking with one of our members. She's a broker owner. Her name is Hada. She's in San Diego. She's been a part of ZooDelio for years. And she just had her first cash plus offer accepted. And she shared with us that she's been using ZooDelio and her agents have been using ZooDelio to really set realistic pricing, because now you're showing up with what a buyer is willing to pay. So set realistic pricing. She's using it to get price reductions during the listing appointment. And she's using it to really have that hedge against the open market. So she can tell a seller, look, here's this cash offer option. It may or may not work for you. The beauty is if we go on the open market and the home doesn't sell in the time frame you were hoping it would, we can always revisit this cash offer. And that's a distinction that is very unique to just her. And so she's showing up and she's having conversations that other agents aren't even capable of having because they don't know about it, or they've dismissed it because it's, a cash offer platform. I don't need that. My clients would never want that. Well, I'll tell you what, we buy homes in the millions. We buy homes in the 2 millions. If you think that your clients wouldn't be interested in this, you're just wrong. You're making an assumption on their behalf instead of discovering what's truly important to them.
Yeah, and one of the things that being on the investment side more now than I ever was, people, there's always people out there, people need money, right? Yeah. So tell me, okay, so walk me through the cash offer plus process and how that works, the cash plus model. Tell me how
that
plus,
works. Yes.
And
it is, it's such an incredible offer. And I will say that, ZooDelio is being copied everywhere now with it, which is, it's cool. Initially it's like, everyone's copying it, but then you start to realize it's really cool to see the adoption of this. And you realize that this is a product that really can help homeowners get that quick liquidity without giving up too much of their equity. So here's how it works. So let's say you're using the ZooDelio platform to source these offers. You enter the address on ZooDelio, or maybe your homeowner goes on and enters the address on your landing page, whatever. Then the cash offer is returned. That cash offer, if the seller chooses to accept, that it'll proceed just like a normal escrow. The buyer will go in and do the inspection and that whole bit. But the distinction on the cash plus offer is it is a 2 payout offer. And so let's say the home is worth, easy numbers, $100,000. So the offer comes in at $100,000. The way the buyer is able to make a full market value cash offer is by the reserve. So there's a portion of the seller's equity that is held in the property until the home is sold on the open market, and that is set aside. And so that reserve number typically ranges anywhere from 15 to 35%, depending on the risk that property presents the marketplace. And whatever that percentage is, so for easy numbers, let's say it's 10% on a $100,000 house. On the first payout, the seller would get that $90,000 less the fees. And then on the second payout, if the home sells on the open market for $100,000, the seller gets 100% of that reserve returned. Now, it is a hedge. And so agents and homeowners need to understand exactly how this works. So how that works is, let's say in the best case scenario, which we do see this, especially when we make strategic repairs to improve the property's value on the open market, best case scenario, it sells for more. So let's say it sells for 105. Well, in that scenario, the homeowner would not only get that $10,000, they would get that upside of the open market. And so they would receive $15,000 back. Now, on the downside, and this can happen, and it does happen, the home doesn't sell for $100,000. Let's say it sells for only $95,000. Well, in that scenario, that delta, that $5,000 delta would be deducted from the reserve, and then the remaining reserve is returned to the homeowner. So that's how the structure works. It's a little nuanced, it's a little different, but if you understand how it works and everybody goes into it eyes wide open, it can be a really amazing offer.
So the offer is made by an investor.
That's correct.
And how does the investor make money?
They charge a program fee. So I mentioned before, the homeowner gets this cash offer and they only pay a fee. And so the program fees range anywhere from about 6.5% to 9%, depending on, again, the risk the property presents to the marketplace. What we've learned is that when assessing that program fee, that investor is taking into account a lot of different variables. They're taking into account the inventory, the absorption rate, the risk the property presents. So such as if it's in Texas, maybe you have higher property taxes. And so they're having to carry more expense on that home on a monthly basis. So that program fee just varies based on the property.
So the investor basically is not a fix and flipper. They're not someone that's going to do an awful lot of work in the home, or maybe they'll just pretty it up. Is that correct?
Correct. So this is the best though when we see this play out, and we see it a lot. So what we've learned through the data is about 70% of all of the cash plus offers that are accepted through the ZooDelio platform have some sort of strategic renovation attached to that offer. Now, the seller pays for the repairs and the renovation because, again, the buyer only makes a program fee. So if the buyer's only making a program fee and they're covering the cost of capital, they're covering the interim ownership costs of the home, they're covering, the taxes, the HOA, the electricity, all of that, it's really getting eaten up by a lot of that. Their margins are pretty thin.
Right.
But in the strategic repair bucket, what's really cool is, let's say during the inspection period when the buyer is purchasing the property, the investor buyer, they say, we really believe that if there were $10,000 of repairs done after you move out, homeowner, maybe we replace the carpet, maybe we repaint, maybe, we fix the peeling paint on the soffits outside. And if we did all of that, we really believe you could, maybe even get more, right? And that relist price could be higher. So the investor will agree to strategic repairs. They do come out of the seller's equity, so the seller does pay for them. So it has to make sense, right? And this is where the agent really can get involved and share, because you are the local expert, you know your market, you know how that property is going to present to the market. And so in those scenarios, it's not a fix and flip, but it's a strategic renovation that increases that resale value. And the benefit is truly solely for the original homeowner. So it's kind of a perfect product. And we see this scenario playing out, especially, we know a lot of folks have tons of equity, but they're very short on cash. And so they can't do the things to get their home ready to sell.
Right. Okay. So this being the cash plus model, tell me about other models that are available through ZooDelio and how they compare to this one.
Yeah, so we serve traditional cash offers as well. And you had mentioned that, typically those come in a little bit lower. That is absolutely the case. We make no bones about it. It is true, especially in today's market when a lot of the institutional buyers have kind of laid off a little. It's like if they're going to buy, it needs to be a specific thing that they're looking for. And then they usually like to get it pretty steep. And so that's just the reality of those straight cash offers right now. We also have another cash offer that's called the Sell Now, Move Later. And that cash offer allows the seller to accept that cash offer. It's structured like the Cash Plus. They get that first payout, but they can rent the home back on a month-to-month basis for 12 to 18 months. And so that really allows for flexibility for maybe that seller that needs to get that liquidity out. They aren't quite ready to make that next move. So a lot of folks, maybe they've got kids that are graduating high school or things that just keep them in that spot a little bit longer, but they want to make sure that the home is sold and it's done.
Now, I really believe that this is really a way that could really enhance a real estate agent's business, right? Because they're going with more solutions than with questions. And like you said before, I mean, you're going in with, an answer as to what people are already going to offer them for their house and what the market really is going to present. This also, I mean, there's a lot there. I mean, as far as you're concerned, I mean, you got into this space as a real estate agent first, and then owner of a brokerage, and then you started to figure out how you could benefit agents and brokers as well. Tell me the benefit to how an agent can use this in a listing presentation.
The listing agent, when they go into a listing presentation, we always suggest that you bring the cash offer options with you. And so now, instead of just looking at comps, you're reviewing real exercisable cash offers that they can accept right now.
Right.
And that's going to do a couple things. And, I always ask this question, like, have you ever had a seller that wasn't forthcoming with you?
Huh.
Right? Like, yes, we all have. And have you ever had a seller where it was difficult to really figure out what that motivation was? The cash offers uncover that. It is a completely different conversation when you come in and you have these cash offers and you're actually looking at numbers, and they can, they know, okay, if I were to accept this, here's what this would look like. I could choose the timeline of when I want to move. That's a real big thing for sellers. They're really concerned about that time matching equation. And they actually have something, it's not theory, it's exercisable now, today. And the second thing is using it as a hedge against the open market. So if the seller balks at the program fee, if the seller doesn't want a too structured payout, those types of things, well, that's okay. You can pivot. You get the listing. No big deal. We can go on market. And the benefit here is we go on market. It doesn't sell in the time frame you were hoping for. This is always an option. And I had mentioned I was talking with Hada in San Diego the other day. That's exactly what happened to her seller. It's a nearly $1 million home, and the seller went on market. It didn't sell in the time frame they were hoping for. So they revisited the cash plus offer and just accepted it. And so we see this happen all the time. And so agents are really leveraging it as a listing conversion tool versus going in, trying to get this cash offer accepted, and that being the focus. No, that's not the focus. The focus is you go in with options, right? Just like a lot of agents have their 3-structure compensation plan, and it's just like that. You add it in as an option, and you allow the seller to discover what's most important to them through these options.
So, all right. So it seems that there's there might be a roadblock, a mindset roadblock with both agents and sellers. Are consumers, sellers, are they more into it than an agent might be? Or is it the agent closed-minded and doesn't want to offer it to a seller? You see what I'm talking about? Because
I do. Yeah.
Mindset issue, right? Talk to me about that.
Well, interesting you mentioned that. So sellers can go on to ZooDelio and request cash offers. And over the past 12 months, we've distributed nearly 250,000 seller leads. So we do have a network of agents that are in our referral program. And because ZooDelio does not allow a seller to purchase a home in the platform unrepresented. And so every seller that accepts a cash offer through ZooDelio is going to get representation. So I think that number alone speaks to what you just said, is that sellers are open to this. They're searching for this. They're curious about this. And if the agent is not bringing them offers and options, they're out there looking for them on their own. And we also here's another thing, Dave, we also get a lot of sellers that are on market that come into the platform and request cash offers. And then at that point, our referral network agent is going after it from a buyer agency perspective, representing just the buyer and working with that listing agent to deliver those offers. So I think you're right. I think that a lot of agents have a mindset roadblock because they think, oh, well, they don't want to invest the time in learning, right? Like so much. And if you look at the past few years in real estate, we've had to relearn a lot, right? We've had to, not only have we had to relearn, we've had to do things differently. And I think that especially in today's age with AI and everything. One more thing to learn. It's like, oh, that my clients wouldn't want this anyway. It's really easy to dismiss, but it can truly be Pandora's box when you understand how it just unlocks a lot that you didn't know before by bringing these offers.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I'm thinking, being a former broker owner, and I think about how agents are going to, and this is probably one of my biggest problems. I always thought about how agents were going to say, Dave, that sucks. That's not going to work, But we always hear that as a broker owner. I don't care if it's 1996 or 2026. You're going to hear the same thing. I mean, as much as agents change, they stay the same, And I think that what has happened is now with these virtual brokerages, or these new brokerages, or these new companies, I don't know how to put it, virtual companies acquiring the legacy style companies. I don't know how that's going to work, by the way, but that's beside the point. It's another conversation for another day. Is there an obsolescence factor here as far as agents becoming obsolete to a point, or is it just a learning curve that people say, screw that, I'm leaving?
Whew. Whew. That is the question, Dave. A couple things. And you mentioned the cloud-based brokerages acquiring legacy brokerages. And I think that also speaks to consumer demand being real estate consumer demand, real estate agent consumer demand, wanting options, right?
Yeah.
Here's what we've learned. We've learned that the real estate agent has a lot of rapport and trust with the homeowner. And homeowners want them on their side. And there have been data studies on this as well, that sellers, when surveyed, have said, yeah, absolutely, we want to get cash offers. But then they've also overwhelmingly said that we want to look at these cash offers with a real estate agent. And so they really don't want to navigate it on their own. Now, could AI start to change that? Yeah, maybe, right? And we're probably seeing and feeling a little bit of that. And especially for the agents that aren't out there learning and tooling themselves up and really doing a good job at communication and building the trust and the rapport and all of that. But I know that our journey and what we've learned is that the seller wants someone on their side. They do want that advisory, that fiduciary. And so I don't know that these offers and options make agents obsolete. You look at the pivot that Open Door, when they first came out, it was definitely, they were not very agent friendly, right? Like, they worked with agents, but wasn't really their focus. And Eric Wu and Keith Raboy, who is the money behind Open Door, have been on stages and been on Twitter and openly said that their goal was to replace agents, right? Like, agent was not the focus, right?
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. So, I think that these companies, they started out thinking that they could get rid of the real estate agent, but then you look at where they're at today, and they're all working with the real estate agent. And so I think they've learned what we've learned, and that is the homeowner does want someone on their side.
Without question. I think it's more of evolution as far as our business is concerned, as far as technology for us is concerned. You said in our conversation just now, tool up. I think that's really important because, well, let's face it. I mean, the letters CRM, people would walk away from it, and over the years, 20 years ago, and now it's like essential to an agent's business for the most part. Still today, I talk to agents that I knew 30 years ago. Think about that. They're still in the business. And agents that got into business 5 years ago. And one of the things tooling up does is it allows a new agent to bypass that 10, 15-year-old top producer very quickly because of the understanding and the lack of evolution by a legacy agent. I think there's a psychology issue here too, with not only the agent, but the seller about money. I mentioned earlier that people need money, and, the seller is always worried about leaving money on the table, about, the for sale by owner well, I don't want to pay a commission. I think it's because there's a trust of the market. I mean, if they saw the value, they would pay a commission, but a lot of people still don't think that way. Will ZooDelio, will AI, will this evolution of our business change the way real estate agents are looked at, in your opinion?
I think it already is, and it will continue to do so. And I think what it really does is it highlights the agents that aren't obsessed with delivering value. And the agent that's not obsessed with delivering value, and value can look like a multitude of things.
There you go, right there.
Yep.
That's really important.
Yep, it sure can. And, I think of, when you talk about some of these legacy agents, I know many legacy agents that don't have a CRM, but by golly, every holiday, every special event, every little thing, they are, calling or texting or dropping something by, and they're really being there as a force in that person's life,
right,
and serving and supporting them in their life. And that's value, right? And so value can look very different. It doesn't always look like we're going to show up and give them the great numbers and this and that. So I think that if you're not obsessed with bringing value, you are losing. And that's just across the board. And even for us, right? Like I know that even our roles, we have to be obsessed with delivering value on a daily basis. And unfortunately, it's like, what have you done for me lately? And that is exactly what people think. And so you have to continually be bringing that value.
Yeah, and for you, not that I know how your mind works, but I can tell you that since we were on a similar level years ago, it's all about, what can I do now? What's next? Where's it going to be? I always wanted to be that tech guy, that broker that was ahead of everybody else. And what it did was, in those days, 20, 25 years ago, it actually hurt me because people were afraid of it.
Oh, interesting.
To go work for Fanale, I got to use this technology. I've got to learn how to use this. I've got to use this funky phone system. I mean, give me a fucking break. I mean, it's a phone system. Just hit the right number, right? But that is what it was then. And now, as we get into AI, and you've got agents talking about AI and using it in a way where it's just writing, descriptions for them, and they think it's the greatest thing since the cell phone, right? I can't say sliced bread anymore because nobody understands that one anymore.
I mean, I still do.
Yeah, I know. Right. Exactly. Right. So, I mean, all right. So what's the biggest fear that an agent would have about utilizing a product like ZooDelio? What are they getting wrong?
They just don't understand how it works. And so when they don't understand, then that just creates a lot of uncertainty. And if there's uncertainty, that can create some anxiety and fear. So I think that the best thing to do is just learn about it, right? Like ZooDelio has a ton of trainings. We have a ton of trainings on YouTube. Just kind of learn about what other agents are doing to leverage it, and just tool yourself up. It can't hurt. If anything, if you walk into a listing appointment and the seller says, "Oh, I just interviewed Dave, and Dave brought a ZooDelio Cash Plus offer." Well, hey, if you've learned about it, now you can speak to that too. And you can probably quickly say, "Oh yeah, I have that as well." But I think that it's taking and investing your time and learning about it.
Okay. So we talk about evolution, and we talk about, you started this, let's say, over 7 years ago. I think that's what it was. And, with a different name, and you've moved forward, and you've progressed. And I remember talking to you about this, both on this broadcast and privately, about how excited you were about it. And I'm saying to myself, that sounds really cool, because I understood it differently. And over the past couple of weeks, I've learned a lot more about it, and being more on the investment side, or being on the side of doing things differently than I've done over the past in my career, to say, I looked at it and said, why the hell haven't I been using this before? Why the hell wasn't I more aware of it, rather than it just being one of those things that I see, right? And I think that's because I think that's because that I myself tend to be closed-minded sometimes when it comes to that's how things always were done, even though I always say, that's not how I am. I'm always open-minded. I want to say this to everybody out there. You are closed-minded to a point, and need to understand how this can be used. Okay. So do you think stronger agents or more agents as we evolve in this business are going to be using products more like this? Or do you think we're still going to have a dissection and bifurcation of everything, of all of this stuff, where agents won't use it, they refuse to use it?
I do think more agents will use it. That has been that's been our journey. I mean, we see how our platform has grown, and it's quite incredible, especially when you consider that our marketing budget's like almost zero. We're self-funded. We didn't go raise the hundreds of millions of dollars to create this technology or to market this technology. And so when we see how quickly we've been able to diffuse the marketplace, that's an indicator to us that there will be more adoption. I think, I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, and he talks about the law of innovation and diffusion of information and how on that bell curve, I still think we're in the small portion of the bell curve where it's just the early adopters, but that late majority is coming. And, fortunately, unfortunately, because I personally think it needs it, but I also believe that we're going to see a pretty incredible thinning of the real estate agent community. And the ones that stay and really are obsessed with bringing value are going to be the ones that want these sort of options so that they can really provide a great service to their seller no matter what the seller wants.
So I'm not going to open the can of worms about how to go further with what you just said. I'm not, because we'll be here all day, even though we just lost her. Okay, so we just lost Kayla. Hopefully she'll come back. But the interesting part about what I was about to say was all about the change and the evolution of our business. The evolution and the change of our business is really what we're seeing and what we're talking to Kayla about today. One of the things is these cash offers and using that. And we're back. And just, using cash offers as something that we need to use. Okay. So over the past few years, let's just say in this decade, since the beginning of this decade, there has been some crazy shit going on, right? We had market shifts, we had interest rates, but all started with 2020 and COVID. And, one of the things that I thought was really great that came out of that terrible situation of 2020 was how we started to communicate better with people we knew, really get involved and talking to them. I mean, it's gone forward, but it's also created, in my opinion, some bullshit in our business. But that's always going to happen, right? And then we had interest rates. Interest rates came down. I mean, people talk about, I'm waiting for interest rates to come down. Hey, dude, when I started in this business, interest rates were 18%. So don't tell me you're waiting for interest rates to come down. I don't want to hear it. When I got my takeout mortgage, I think 1993 for a house I built, I got 7.5%, and I was happy. I was really happy with that number. So guys, when you talk about interest rates, typically, they're in 5s and 6s, in the 60s and 70s, and as time went on. Yes, I am that old. But the point I'm making is we've had this change in interest rates over the past 6 years. Rates have the interest rates, the changes, created a better environment for this product or alternative selling models? Has it created a better environment, or has it hurt the regular environment?
That is such a great question. And that is one question I wrestle with our capital providers on too. And so it's interesting you asked that, because as rates were changing, that's one of the things that they would continually ask us is how does this impact the cash plus in the marketplace and whatnot. And, I think that there's an argument for either way. And we've only lived through and we only have the luxury of knowing what's been. Right. And because I started this kind of towards the tail end of interest rates being at the really low 3%. It's tough to say with data what I believe, but because with data, I only have the luxury of knowing what's been. And that's been rates being higher than buyers would like, right? So 6%, we hit 7 a couple times momentarily. But because sellers, are locked in, which we see more walking away from their sub 4% interest rates, by the way. I think 1 in 3 sellers right now is walking away. 1 in 3 sellers with a mortgage is walking away from that sub 4% interest rate. So we do see more sellers walking away from it. But we know that really buyer demand drives the absorption of the listings, and buyer demand is low in most parts of the country. There are certain areas where, you're still doing really well and you're outperforming in the Northeast, et cetera. But you have markets like Texas, Florida, Georgia that are slower, and there's more inventory on the market and it's taking longer. Even Phoenix, right? Denver's coming up. So places that were hot during the pandemic are now a little bit slow, a little sluggish. And one could argue that our product is more advantageous in that climate because sellers need liquidity and they can't wait for the buyer on the open market. And so this is an option that gives it to them right away. Now, on the flip side, though, I believe that when the market shifts and the velocity speeds up, I believe our product will be just as in demand, because then the time matching equation becomes even more important for the seller. And if the market starts to move again and we start to see sellers that when they put their house right on the market, it sells, well, now they need to go find another house, and that presents its own challenges. And so I think that that's kind of, my take on it, my assessment with it, but it is something that I debate with our capital providers pretty frequently.
So I want to add to that. I mean, as someone, I mentioned 50, 60, I didn't mean not the 50s, 60s and 70s and 80s. I lived through all those markets. I was first licensed. I was 2 years old. It was 1976. And I've seen the markets in the late 70s, the early 80s. I watched as Ronald Reagan come in, how he bettered the economy, but it came back to bite us in the ass, but nobody ever blamed him for it, which doesn't make sense, but that's okay. The late 80s and the Resolution Trust Corporation taking over foreclosures, and then the 90s and the buildup. And then we start getting really, really good. And then the last time I think we've ever seen this thing called a normal market was September 10th, 2001. We all know what happened the next day.
Yeah.
As time has gone on, there's really been nothing normal as far as a cycle has looked at. And what I look at where we're in is, everybody seems to be waiting for those markets to shift. And I think the anticipation is more of, we're going to see more of less anticipation and more market acceptance as time goes on. It's taken a long time for that. So this is a long rounded way of saying how the business has changed. And because of these, there's nothing cyclical. And because of technology, people can get better at what they're doing really quickly. Do you think consumers now know more than the typical real estate agents, and is showing the weakness of the real estate community, the real estate professional community?
Dave, that's an interesting question. A good agent, no, they don't know more than a good agent. But what they are doing is they're learning themselves. And there was a recent study done that surveyed sellers and buyers that have recently purchased a home. And what it uncovered is half of them used 2 agents in the transaction: the real estate agent they hired and the AI agent in their pocket. And we're seeing examples of this spill over onto the great old internet, right? If you go onto Reddit, you can catch a lot of these posts where sellers and buyers are taking their situation to Reddit and they're sharing how they use AI to uncover something that maybe the real estate agent missed, or maybe they felt the real estate agent misguided them on. And so I think it's really important to have a conversation with your buyers and with your sellers and ask them, how are you using AI throughout this transaction? And maybe even sharing with them how you're using AI throughout the transaction, because we know that they're doing it, over half of them. And because they're doing it, have the conversation about it. It's kind of like when the Zestimate first started arising. And if you've been in real estate long enough to know what that was like, like, you know what I mean? It's like at first you wanted to ignore it. When you walked into the listing appointment, you didn't want to address this estimate. But then as time went on, what did we do? We printed it out and we circled it and read and we said, well, this is what Zillow says and here's why it's not accurate, right? Same sort of thing with AI. I think you need to have the AI conversation. You need to understand how they're using it and you need to share with them how you're using it to provide a better experience for them too.
Okay, so there's so many things that are coming in my head, but I got to ask you this one thing. I mean, one of the things that we taught agents, and a lot of the coaches have taught when it came to the Zestimate and the way to fight the Zestimate, is that Zillow's never been in your house. So how can they tell you what it's worth? So, devil's advocate, I could say, well, ZooDelio's never been in my house. How can they make an offer like that?
Absolutely. And that's a fair point. And what we do when we provide the offer is we back it with the comp selection that was used. It's fully transparent. They're able to see the adjustments that were made. It almost looks like a mini appraisal on screen, and they get to see that. And then the agent can even weigh in and say, hey, here's a comp you missed, or maybe this comp shouldn't have been used. And so it's really more of a collaborative process with the Cash Plus offer because the goal of it is to hit that market value.
Yeah, and I just want to be really clear. That's exactly the reason I asked the question. I want to be really clear about, I'm going to use Zestimate again. When it first came out and there was everybody was talking about this Zestimate, this and Zestimate, that, you had to really drill deeply into that website, and you found that the Zestimate had no clue as to what the comps were in the market at that time when they came out. Okay, so what's something that you believe about the future of our business, real estate, that a lot of people haven't figured out yet?
I believe
I know you got it figured out.
Yeah, no, I don't. But I will say that one of the steps that we've recently taken here at ZooDelio is a complete rebuild of our entire software platform. We are AI native, so everything is going to be AI code. It will be extremely easy to add new features and update. I can literally pull out my phone and talk to it and tell it what I want it to do. And so based on what's happening with AI, it is going to have a big impact on our industry. There was a company out of San Francisco that created an AI negotiation for landlords and tenants for commercial space. It is flourishing, and 9 out of 10 of the landlords said they prefer negotiating with the AI over a real estate agent. And so I think you see other platforms. There's one called Homa, there's one called Get Ridley that are aimed at helping the seller sell their home on their own with AI. Ridley has an agent assisted option. Homa focuses on the buyer. Buyer can purchase homes without an agent using AI. And so for us to think that this isn't going to impact our industry, we'd be, just absolutely dead wrong. It is going to impact us. And I don't think leadership in real estate is talking about this. I think that they kind of want to sweep it under the rug a little bit. And I don't know if it's, I find it very alarming when I hear leaders in real estate kind of sweep it under the rug, because what I see coming, what we've been able to do here at ZooDelio with AI is absolutely insane. For instance, we all use probably some sort of DocuSign, right? Like maybe you're using DocuSign, AuthentiSign, DigiSign, something of the sorts. Well, did you know that there's an open source code on GitHub called DocuSeal that you can download and create your own document management platform for free? And yesterday, in about 3 minutes, I instructed my Claude bot, which is my AI bot, to go to the GitHub repository, download the code base, and set me up my own DocuSign, essentially branded to me, and it did it in 3 minutes. And so when you see things like that happening, and when you have a visceral experience of doing it yourself, you're going, whoo, this is going to change things. And do we quite know how yet? No. But I think with AI, it's not even like a once in a generational thing. This is like a once in a world thing. Like it's going to change so much.
So, there's so many people out there that really want to use this stuff. They're really excited about this stuff, but they're so fucking confused. Is there, it's not like riding a bike. It's not like driving a car. Let's look at, this to me, I'm going to use the analogy of a automobile engine. if you looked at it 30, 40 years ago when I was pumping gas and having to do stuff with a car engine, I could figure it out. I open up the hood of a car, I have no idea what I'm looking at. So I close it and I walk away and say, okay, I got a guy for that. In Jersey, you get guys for everything, right? So tell me, is there an easy way to get up to speed with AI, to understand it, or do we not need to understand it, just understand how to use it for our own purpose?
When you first start down the AI rabbit hole, understand how to use it for your purpose. As you do that, you will start to understand it. And I can tell you that's been my personal journey. It's been others that I work alongside's personal journey as well. When we first started really embracing it, other than my development team, right? And they're software engineers, so they have a great understanding of it. But I'm talking from my perspective when I said, because I am not a developer, I don't code. Obviously, I've been running a technology company, so I have a little bit of an idea of how things work. But I would say on the AI level, it was like, okay, I know it can do these things. I know that if I'm patient and I'm willing to learn, and here's the beauty. A lot of the things that I've done with AI, I have asked AI how to help me do it. And so you can use AI to help you set it up and learn it. And
that's what blows my mind about it too.
Yeah.
Exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
You know, what do I have to ask you to get this done?
Yes, exactly. And, it's for me, it's like the most exciting thing. It is a huge unlock. If you're only leveraging it to write your listing descriptions, oh my goodness. Like, for instance, like, you talked about like wholesalers and stuff. I've set up several AIs. One of my AIs I have exclusively that just goes on to MLS and it looks for listings that have been on the market for 90 plus days and it makes them a cash plus offer. And then it tells me every morning how many there were and how many offers it sent out. And so you can set up workflows that are really impactful, that you don't have to do anything after you've invested the time in setting it up.
I want that workflow, please.
Yeah. It's so funny because one of the most recent things that I've done is I've enabled my AI agent with a crypto wallet so it can go out there and sell some of these workflows. And it's connected with Coinbase so it can accept cryptocurrency for payments.
So, I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, there's everybody I could go on and on with, but this is like, number one, you're super cool. You're just been, really helpful for me over the years as I've listened to you and talked to you. And I know it's not often. It has been 7 years. I apologize for that. We'll have you on again sooner than that. But you know what? We're coming up on time, and I just got two quick things. First of all, the biggest thank you in the world to you. And I screwed up on the time today. I apologize to everyone for that. Please forgive me. And I just wanted to. The biggest question I have for you is I really love what you got going here. I really love this product. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and the questions are always selfish. My selfish questions have to do with how it can help me, because I know if it can help me, it can help anybody. That's why I asked the question. They're not really selfish. They're selfish and selfless at the same time. So the most important question I can ask you today is this one. How do I help you grow your business?
Aw, Dave, thank you. You're doing it. Just allowing me to be a part of this podcast. And when we do cross paths, just the good energy, and I love it. And that's absolutely helping me. As you probably know, what we do, what you do with your podcast, a lot of times you probably don't get a lot of thanks or a lot of appreciation. And so when you give that to me, it's very meaningful. And so I absolutely appreciate all your support over the years.
You're very welcome. And last but not least, 7 years ago, you got the original version, I get the updated version. The hat is coming out to you. I want to thank you so much for being here. A quick plug for next week. We have Lane Kawaka coming on, who is the founder of the Wealth Elevator, investor and investor coach extraordinaire. That's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting for me. He's going to talk about on different levels. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Kayla, thank you so much. Please say hello to your husband for me. Say hello to everybody. God bless you and your family. Please stay on as we go out. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.